Oh, hello and welcome to this video. Today is 19th of November. I wanted to have a closer look at Tesla from a weekly and monthly point of view, just to see what sort of trends are emerging. So this is a weekly chart. I've got a channel right here. It connects the highs, the lower highs, and then it connects the bottom right here. So within this channel, I can see that it's now close to the bottom of this channel. So that's point number one. So the bottom of the channel would be, depending upon where I connected, because it's a downward sloping. So it would be somewhere around, say, between 170 and 175, depending upon where I touch it. But the point is, it's now getting to the bottom of this channel. So it would be interesting to see if there is any reaction at this channel. Secondly, there's this 200 period moving average, this line right here, which is also coming up towards this channel. So this level is at 160.7. Let's call it 161. So that's also moving higher. So between 170 and 161, you see there are some support zone right here. Next I want to do is I want to draw a fib from the COVID lows. So this is the COVID lows right here. So if I draw a fib right here, I see that 61.8 is also near the bottom of this channel. You can see right here, this red line right here is 61.8. This is from COVID lows to the highs. So I can see that 61.8. So if it comes to this level, it's around 171. It will have corrected 61.8% of the move from COVID lows to this high. So 61.8 is usually a significant fib level. So that's the third point. If I look to the left right here, so because this is a weekly chart, I see quite a few weekly candles right here. This particular candle right here, the high of this candle is around 167.50, and then if I draw a horizontal line right here, which basically marks the highs of these candles, that's around 155. If I draw it properly, 155 point. So what you're seeing is that between 170 and 145, it's got a number of supports. There's the bottom of this channel right here. There's the 61.8 fib, which is around 171. There's the weekly 200 period moving average, which is around 161 at the moment. And then you've got a cluster of candles right here. On the high end, on the upper end, you've got 167.50, and then bunch of candles which got rejected around 155 level. So you can see between 155 and 170, you've got quite a few support zone. So that's first point to note as far as price is concerned. Another thing is that on a weekly basis, you see these moving averages. The price right now is quite a bit below these moving averages. The moving averages tend to act as a mean reversion. So whenever you see price either go well above or well below the moving averages, you see that over time they tend to move towards the moving average. You can see right here, when price rallied sharply, it went well above the moving averages, and then gradually we see it coming back to the moving averages. So that's another point to note, is that it's now moving away from this moving averages. So at some point I would expect price to move up and get back to the moving averages. Now, whether it goes above the moving averages, that's I'm not certain of that, but at the very least I would expect there to be a move up towards the moving averages. Maybe it does so from this level. Now if I look at the momentum indicators, I see that the momentum indicators are still weak. If you look at MACD, it rallied and came up to the zero line, and then it crossed, and now it's heading down, and it's not showing any sign of crossing. Right here it fell, and then gradually you see it crossed. So at the moment it's not showing any sign of crossing. it is decidedly moving lower. So that's negative. And if you look at the RSI is below 50 right here. It's below the 50 level. Anytime RSI is below 50, it's negative. The green line is you can see RSI made a lower low. So that's not positive. So the momentum indicators are not looking positive at the moment. On the price side, I see that it's coming to quite a few support level between 155 and 170. It closed on Friday at 180. So it's not that far below. If 61.8 level is going to be the support, there's just 10 points from the current level. So that's the weekly picture. If I look at the monthly picture, what do I see? So this is the monthly picture. So I see that massive run up. This is the monthly 20 and monthly 50 exponential moving averages. It had gone way above the monthly moving averages. So that was that's the first indication that perhaps it was overstretched. And now what we do is see is coming down. And where do we see it has come down to? The monthly 50 period moving average. It has gone slightly below. The monthly 50 period moving average is around 184. So the price at the moment is 180. So it's slightly below the monthly 50 period moving average. And the other thing I notice is MACD, which has crossed and now moving lower, remains well above the zero line. And RSI, you can see that RSI has been moving lower. So it has gone below the monthly 50 for the first time right here. You can see right here when it crossed above the monthly 50 and remained above the 50 level, RSI 50 level, good things happen to price, big price. Now for the first time we see that it bounced up the monthly 50, RSI 50. It has now fallen below the RSI 50, which is not good. But previously, I see that RSI bottom at this level, at this purple line, which is 38.2. It's a fib level. So let's look at the price in relation to prior levels and see what can we learn from it. So if I just go to the left a little bit, right? Okay. So here we can see that there was a big run up. Price went well above the monthly 20 and 50. And then what we see that in subsequent months, there was a correction and price came to monthly 50. So in this case, and what happened to MACD at that time? MACD was also well above the zero line. It pulled back and then it crossed near the zero line. So that's what the technical picture was during this phase. So this is between 2014 and 2016 period. Now then what happened, there was another run up right here. Price went above the monthly 20 and 50, and what we saw at that time was that it came and touched the monthly 50 again, couple of times. Monthly 50 rebound, again pull back to monthly 50, rebound, and eventually it fell below the monthly 50. Now in both cases you can see the gap between the two moving averages. They were quite wide, but over time when the correction took place, the gap narrowed right here. They never crossed and went to the downside, but the gap narrowed. Here too you can see the gap started to widen and then the subsequent correction narrowed the gap. So in this case, we see that it fell below the monthly 50. And what happened to MACD? In this correction, it went below the zero line and then finally crossed. So you can see that it finally crossed slightly below the zero line. So coming back to this, in both cases, we saw the price came to monthly 50. So as it did right now. So the minimum pullback, minimum correction that needed to happen, at least happened. So that's the minimum requirement. But in one instances, we saw that it fell below the monthly 50. So that could very well happen. But at the very least, it needed to, from this level, it needed to come to monthly 50, which it did, because in previous times, we saw that in both cases, it came to monthly 50. The other point to note is that the gap between the two moving averages is still quite wide. In previous corrections, we saw that the gap narrowed. So at the moment it is narrowing, but it hasn't done so sufficiently yet. So maybe it needs to consolidate, either pull back or go sideways for a few more months so that the gap narrows. So that's as far as the price is concerned, current level in relation to what happened to previous big moves and correction. RSI, we saw that in one instances it crossed just above the zero line. So that would be the minimum requirement. So at the moment, MACD remains well above the zero line. So that implies that MACD needs to come down a little bit more. So which means that it could either pull, it could fall a little bit further, or basically chop around. It could move up a little bit to the top of this. It could go up to the monthly 20 and then pull back again, so that MACD continues to come down. So MACD hasn't come down far enough in relation to the previous declines. In one case, it went below the zero line. If it goes below the zero line, so that would imply that there's more weakness or choppiness to come in coming months. RSI has been falling. Now, in previous time, during this correction right here, RSI fell to this level. This is 38.2. So we're above that level. Monthly RSI is at 43.7. So 38.2 right here would bring it to this correction. So perhaps this would provide some guidance as to whether or not how far or how long this correction lasts, because I can see that it turned at this level, and since RSI is now below this level, I get the feeling that perhaps it wants to go back to this level. So when it gets to this level, we'll see where MACD is, where the price is, where the moving averages are. Based on the momentum indicators, it would suggest that there probably needs there could be a little bit more consolidation, pullback in Tesla. The weekly chart shows that yes, we are near support level, so it's entirely possible for it to bounce and then maybe consolidate, or there could be another leg down so that the monthly can then catch up with historical levels. So once we start to see MACD start to cross on a monthly basis, then it gives us some comfort that there could be a sustained rally. At the moment, because momentum indicators are declining both on the monthly and the weekly, any kind of rally typically is short-lived, because you need to see the momentum indicators, especially RSI. I want to see RSI above 50 level. Both, because if you look at here, RSI was 50, above 50. If you look at here, RSI was 50 and then started rising, and it stayed above 50 up until here. There was positive price movement, and then right here again, RSI was above 50 and then remained 50. You can see big rally in Tesla, sustained rally over weeks and weeks. Right here, we start to see RSI flutter and fall below 50, and then there was a move up, but then it quickly fell back below the RSI 50. This green line right here is the RSI 50, and then it remained below the RSI 50, and it consolidated. And then you can see from this point on, weekly RSI fell below the 50 level, and it's currently below. So you can see weak price action. So at the very least, on a weekly basis, I want to see RSI get back above the 50 level and remain there while MACD crosses and starts to move higher. Only when we see MACD go above the weekly, the zero level, that's when we can expect sustained rallies in Tesla. Otherwise, you see these counter trend rallies within the context of the downtrend. Even on the monthly basis, you see these counter trend rallies, which then produces lower lows. But on a monthly basis, I'm not seeing, at least from a momentum indicators, any signs that of bottom yet, either on the momentum indicators or on a weekly basis on the momentum indicators. So while short term bounce is likely because we are coming to some support level, but longer term, I think the momentum indicators need, they need. I think the price needs to consolidate further before we see a final bottom. Well, thank you very much for watching the video.